Hello and welcome back. In this section, we are going to install the Cloud Foundry CLI. And the Cloud Foundry CLI details you can get from multiple places, but the place which you should look is Cloud Foundry GitHub account. Inside Cloud Foundry, you need to also see the CLI repository. So the CLI repository will have this wiki where you will get the most updated information about which is the Cloud Foundry version which is actively being used, and download that. Now you can see here they also provide the packaged and zipped files for version 6 and version 7. I'm going to stick with the version 6 for now, and I can download this MS OS X 64-bit. If you are using it in a Windows machine, then you can download the Windows zip file and unzip it and use it. Now, if you are in Linux, then you can go for this tgz file. Now, if you scroll down, you can see multiple other repository and files. Now, to know more, we will actually click here in the version 6 CLI installation guide. And the version 7 now is in beta, so we'll not be actually using the version 7. Now, by the time you're watching this video, it can happen that the version 7 is getting utilized. So you can also look into the version which is active at that particular moment when you are watching this video, and accordingly follow the steps. The steps are pretty simple. Now coming to the steps here, you can see here that there are some links also provided. Now if you don't want to have either the installer or compressed binaries, so this is the most easiest and the convenient way for you if you are not used to terminal programming or you want to keep a copy of the packages. Now in this particular page you can see more details about the installation of version 6 CLI, and if you scroll down you also have the installer and the compressed binary link. You have the package file which I will download. I can just click here and the package file will get downloaded. I have already downloaded this before, CF CLI installer, so I will not be again redoing that. Now if you are in Windows or Linux machine, you can download the appropriate installer, and here you can see zip. You can just unzip that and use that particular installer. Now if you are in Linux or Mac machine and you want to use the brew installer or you want to use the sudo apt-get installer, then those options are also provided. You have to just follow these commands and installation will be done on your terminal. Now I'm going to stick with the package based installation, and if you download this is the package what I got. So I'm just going to double click this, and by following the guided process here, so I just have to press continue and it will install all the libraries in the default location. Let's hit install, and it is asking me my admin password, and it is going to install the items. And the similar experience you will also find in Windows installer once you unzip this file. Now installation is done. Now let's go to the terminal. Now if you are in Windows machine, you can again relaunch the terminal just to see if you are able to follow along with the Cloud Foundry CLI command. So in this section, we are going to follow these steps what we have written down. Here the direct link also is there if you don't want to really go from the GitHub Cloud Foundry page to the CLI repository. So we also have a direct link. So I'm going to add this notes so you can also follow the link from this document here. Now coming to the CLI commands here, so let me check what is the version we have. So I can write CF version to see what is the version of my CLI. You are seeing here an error because there are certain files to which I need the root permission to be able to read or write. Now if I run this command with sudo, then it will basically ask me for my root password, and then it will allow me to run that particular command. Now one of the work around here is to make my user come into the root user group, but I'm not going to do that because then a lot of other places my permission will be changed. So if you are not able to access the CF command within your computer without sudo, then you can use the sudo. If you're able to access, then you can just skip the sudo part and use the remaining command. So for me, I'm going to stick with the sudo for each of this command. Okay, so with this command, what we are seeing here is the version of the Cloud Foundry CLI, which is 6.53, and these are sub versioning. Now the next thing which we have to do is logging into our Cloud Foundry. So what we need to log in, we need the API endpoint. We need to know what is the org we need to log in and what is the space in which we need to log in. So let me come to my terminal and just use sudo cf login. And I can also have those information provided to me within this command. So I can say -a and I can say what is my API endpoint. So I just kind of copied this and sudo cf login -a and take this particular command, and let me basically create a new file. So I can just make this command sudo cf login -a, and this is the API access, because sometimes you have the enter or the new line character and it basically will be triggering the end of the command. So I'm just creating that command within my Node Sublime text first before I actually put it in my terminal. Then the next thing is the org, and I can use the -o flag to mention my org, and this is my org name. Then I have my space -s, and I can say dev is my space. And then I can also have my username, which will be my email ID. So some part will be blurred here, and this will be my username. So I'm going to just put it here. And the password, I can put it also here with a -p flag, but it is better if I don't show my password and store it in a file. I will just enter the password whenever it is trying to log in and ask me that in my CLI. So let me put it here, and I've already provided all the information. It will ask me my password. Let me provide my SAP BTP cockpit password, and I am inside my dev space. So you can see that the API endpoint, user, org, and dev is all set, and I'm ready to go and execute the commands or do some kind of operation on apps, create new service. So all those operations I can perform once I log in. So if you want to learn these commands in a very detailed way, see all the information about the flag, this is the location where you should also look, clicloudfoundry.org enus version 6. And here you can see all the list of the command. So let me go to this login one, and you can see all the flags which are possible, and you can see that they are optional. You can just write cf login and it will ask you one by one API, URL, username, password, org, space. You can also use SSO to log in as well. Now, all the options and flag are also explained below here. So if you want to know more, then you can also read this. Now, once you are logged in into account, what are the other commands which we can use? So let me clear this, and what I can do here is, let me first check the marketplace. Now CF marketplace is going to provide me list of all the service which I can create instance of, or I can subscribe to those service to use that. So if I run sudo cf marketplace, then this is going to take some time. So let me just increase the size here so that I can see the description when they get printed in details. So you will see that this CF sudo marketplace takes some time because it's going to acquire all the information about all the services and show you in your CLI. And all the information are here. Let me make it a little bigger, and you see the service description, then plan, and then broker. Now let me decrease the size of the terminal and basically stretch it out so the arrangement is proper. So you can see here the service, plans, and the description. So you have SAP HANA database, the plans are HDI shared, SBSS, Kyma, secure store. So these are similar to what we saw from the graphical user interface in SAP BTP screen as well earlier when we went to the service marketplace tab. So that is what you are also seeing here. And over the period of this section, we will be creating some of the service via CLI. Now the CLI is very powerful because then you don't have to really go into the account. By just using the terminal window, you can create service instance, you can bind your application to service instance, you can delete service instance. So all that you can also perform or carry out. Now the next important command which we'll see is CF Buildpack. Now CF Buildpack is basically a command which will show you what kind of programming languages a application can have if you want to put that application in your Cloud Foundry. So if I go and use sudo cf buildpacks, then it will show me all the build pack which I can use. So let me increase the size here. So these are all the build pack which my application can have. And if I'm using Java language, then I can create an application with the Java, and I can put that application in my Cloud Foundry, and the Cloud Foundry will be able to understand. And we can have Go, Python, PHP, R, and Ruby Rails, and multiple other language build pack as well. Now you can also create your own language build pack and put it in the Cloud Foundry if you want the Cloud Foundry to host application of that language. So whenever we put the application to the Cloud Foundry basically creates a environment, and that is the environment where our application will be running. And the environment can be out of any of this build pack. And that is what this build pack represent. So over time, we will see more about the build packs as well. Now, the next thing is CF app. Now, CF app basically lists all the apps inside your space. If you remember, when we logged into the account, we basically logged in inside our sub account and inside our space, and space is the location where our apps are hosted. So we can use sudo cf apps to get the list of all the apps which are currently present and what is the status. Are they running? Are they stopped? And get an overview of the disk usage and the URL. Sometimes the apps might have URL, sometimes they don't have, sometimes they have more than one URL. So all that information summary, you get it here. Now the next important command is to start and stop an application. Now let me try to start this Node.js application. This is currently in the stopped state. I can use here start, stop, or reset, or start, stop, or restart. And any of these commands I can use to start or stop or restart respectively, and the app name. So let me use sudo cf and start, and I can use this particular app name. And when I use the app name, then within a moment, it is going to start this application. So if I try to reach this URL, you will not see anything now. Let me just check. And if the app starts, now the app is started. So let's check, and the app was started. So I was able to see this particular demo sales lead application. Now this is the very basic sales lead application which we have created for specifically this course. So here I have the list of all the leads, and I can filter those lead based on name. So I can just enter the name and press enter, and I can also have address. So if I say maybe Kentucky, or just say Kentucky, then that particular location or the address whichever lead have will be filtered. So this is a simple sales lead application which we have created, and here from the terminal that application was stopped state. I have started that, so we are able to see that particular application. Now I can also stop that application. So let me do sudo cf stop, and the application name is what we have, Node.js app 01. So that is the name of the application, and stop it. So the app is stopped and I got this OK printed. And if I try to reach this particular URL, let me try to refresh this page, and you will see that there's a 4004 error because the app is stopped. So if I try to again see the status, sudo cf apps to see the list of all the app status, then it's again stopped. Now if I want to restart it, I can just use sudo cf restart and app, and you can see that the app is restarted. So let me go here and again refresh, and you can see that the app is working. Now once the app is restarted, if I want to see the information of all the app, I can again say sudo cf apps, and you will see that the last app is started. So this is a quick way to start, stop, and restart your application which are hosted in your space. Now coming to the next command, so the logs. And this is one of the very important command, because most of the time when you deploy app or you are developing the application, it will not work out of the box, or there might be some issues. So first thing which as a developer you go and to see what has happened. So if I want to check the log of the Node app, so I can just use sudo cf app name. So I can just take the app name here, Node.js app 01, and let me write logs. And according to the documentation, we have cf app name logs, but it should be cf logs and then the app name. So let's check this command, sudo cf logs, and then I can have this app name. So let's see now. And getting the log takes certain bit of time because it's going to retrieve all the logs from the beginning till the current time. So the operation sometimes takes more time. Now this particular command has been waiting for past 10 minutes because the logs are generated from past 1 month. So there are a lot of logs which it tries to get and show you. So the waiting time is also very large. Now I'm stopping this command because it is already waited for more than 10 minutes and it is not practical to wait so long to get the logs. Now one of the way to see the log is to add the -- recent flag here, because if you use the recent flag then only the recent logs will be shown. So let me give my sudo password and it will retrieve the recent logs, and you can see that even the recent logs are also long, so you can find it out what has happened. And these are timestamp based, so you can also see the logs which are here. They are for 20th 6th 1953, and if you scroll down to the last one, it is 06/20 1956. So within 3 minutes, so much of logs have been created. And all the recent process of starting the container and stopping that container, and these are the SSL keys. And why these SSL keys are getting printed, because when I try to connect to my PostgreSQL database, then I use this particular credential, and I also console logged just at the process of testing. So in the production, the console log should be removed, but I put the console log just to see if I'm able to acquire the right configurations from my service binding. So more about that we will cover in the later sections. Now these are all the logs, and by using the logs you can print console statement of your application, which you can monitor and see what is going wrong if you are not getting your desired output. Okay, so I will add this -recent flag, so you don't have to wait for long if the app already have a lot of generated logs. And the next command is to check the health of a specific app. So if I clear this and say sudo cf apps, and it's going to give a overview about all the apps within that particular space where we logged in. Now if I want to know more about this particular app, the last one, then I can just say sudo cf app and app name. So it will give me more detailed information about that particular application. Now I can also see here when it was uploaded, 3rd June, and the build pack of that particular application and what is the underlying stack, Linux stack it is using, also the type, which is web, and instance. Now you can also see here the CPU utilization of this app and the disk and the memory utilization. So it is allocated 128 megabyte of memory, out of which it has only used 45 megabyte of memory, and disk, it has been provided 1 GB of disk, and it has only used 89.6 MB of the disk. Now if you have an application with Cloud Foundry and suddenly the usage spiked of that application, and the application, when the usage are spiked, then it started behaving slow. So what you can do is you can also scale that particular application. So what you can do is you can create 2 applications, and that way half the user can use one app and the other half can use the other app. Or you can increase the memory and the disk size. So those are 2 ways of scaling. So the way to increase the memory and the disk space is called vertical scaling, and the way to create multiple applications out of the same app configuration are called horizontal scaling. So let's try to see how can we do both. So if I want to create multiple instances, so what I can do is I can just take this application, and if I want to create multiple instances of the same application, so I can just use the command sudo cf app and app name -i for number of instance, and let me try to make 2 instances of the same application. Now it's throwing us an error because the command here need to be scale, not app. So let me just update here as well, scale and scale and scale. So What I'm going to do now is just replace this app with scale. So when I say scale, app name minus I for number of instance. So horizontal scaling, first I'm trying to do, creating multiple instances of the same application, and it has already done that. So how fast it was. So let me see how many apps I have. Sudo cf apps. And you can see here that the instance are 2 for the same application. So if I try to reach this application, let me go in the browser and try to reach the application. And the application is performing as it was. And if I try to see the logs or maybe more description about it, so sudo cf, let me bring this little up so you can see also sudo cf app and the app name here. So if I try to just see more detail about it, just to get the details of the usage, then you can see that there are 2 apps running. Now the first CPU utilization is 0.7, the other is 0.5. They both have 128 megabyte of memory, and the disk utilization is almost similar for both of the app. Now here you can see that instance have 2/2. That means you can only create at max 2 instance for this application. If you have more quotas or entitlements, then you can also create multiple instances of that same application to share the load. And these are all internally handled, how the route is happening, to which application the traffic is directed. So all that is internally managed by the Cloud Foundry. So this is how easy for you to scale an application, which if it reaches its peak load, if the scenario happens that the application is reaching a peak load. The second way is the vertical scaling, where I can increase the RAM, the disk space assigned to the application. So I can also do that. So let me clear everything. And what I can do here, I can just use sudo scale, and here I can use -m for memory. So I can just say the app name, which is this Node.js app 01 app name, and I can here say -m for the memory, and the previous memory which it has is 128 megabyte. I can make it 512 megabyte and or maybe 256 megabyte. So just reducing the footprint because I have a lot of other apps working, so my quota might be limited. So let's try to see if it works. And here we have missed the cf command. So just before the scale cf, and it will ask if you want to restart the app, and you say yes, and within a moment it will restart the app with the new configuration. So we have 2 instances, and both of the instances will have the new memory. So app started, and these are the state now. And what you can see here is the memory is still 128. Let me try to provide 512 and see if there are changes. And it is starting the application. In a moment we'll come to know the status. And you can see that in the previous case, it basically was not able to provide us the 256 megabyte. But in this case, you can see that the 512 megabyte is provided to the first application which was running, and the second application, the second instance, have the 128 megabyte block of the memory. So this is how you can increase the memory size of the application, and this is required when you have some memory intensive application or a lot of users are using the application to process the request of those which required more RAM. Now a similar command is also to change the disk space. Now let me try to reduce the disk space because both are possible. So you can either scale up or scale down. So I can use sudo cf and I can say scale and the app name, and then I can say -k, and from 1 GB I want to go to 512 megabytes. So I want to scale down from the hardware and say yes. So the disk space I want to reduce, and let's see what happens. So the app restarted. Now one thing we can see here, the memory is actually increased 512 for both the application. Let me try to also just check the sudo cf apps and this particular app information if I want to see. So just to check what we have, so cf app and the app name, and by checking again the status, you can see that the updated status is proper. Here in the status we were not getting the updated information, and that is the same reason why when the status updated, when we increased the RAM size, it actually showed us in the second time that the memory has been updated for both the app. Because when you scale, the scale happens for both the instance. So the increase of the RAM happened here, and here the decrease of the disk space also happened for both the instance of the application. And you can also just check the status again just to verify that whatever the scale up or the scale down operation you are carrying out has been performed. Okay, so this was the basic app scale up and scale down commands. Now there's one last command which you need to know, which is to delete an application. So this is something which need to be handled with care. So if I try to delete this particular application, so I can just use sudo cf delete and your app name, and sometime when app is running it will not automatically delete. So you can also add this -f force flag just to force the deletion, and within a moment it will be deleted. So let me check the logs, cf sudo app node.js app01. So just see if this app exists, and there's no app with this name. That means the app is deleted. So I can also check this with sudo cf apps, just list of all apps, and you can see that I just have now 2 applications and our node.js app01 is deleted. Okay, so this is the basic CLI command related to your build pack, your marketplace, your apps, and the logs, scale up and scale down. So I hope that you got a basic hold on what we can do with our Cloud Foundry CLI and how quick it was to get things done. So therefore you will see that the Cloud Foundry CLI is also very popular among developer while they develop, because you can do a lot of operation very quickly with the CLI and automate also multiple operation.